The lawyer said it plainly. Legally, she was just his wife. The company was his. 11 years of building it, and on paper, she didn't exist. What Grant forgot was that his wife had read every contract he ever signed, including the ones he didn't remember signing. Vivian met Grant when they were both 28. He had charisma, a business degree, and a dream of building a commercial real estate firm. She had a quieter gift. She understood numbers, contracts, people, and risk in a way that could not be taught. They agreed, in the way young couples in love agree to things, that they were a team. He would be the face. She would be the engine. It felt romantic at the time. The handshake nobody wrote down. For 11 years, Vivian built the firm. She structured the deals. She read every contract before Grant signed it. She caught the errors that would have sunk them in year 3 and year 6 and year 9. She managed the relationships with the lenders who only stayed because they trusted her judgment, even as Grant's name went on the letterhead. She did not draw a formal salary. They were married. It was their company. That was the understanding. It was always the understanding, right up until it wasn't. The firm grew into something worth millions. And somewhere in year 10, Grant began to change. He started describing the company's success using the word I where he used to say we. He hired a chief of staff who scheduled around Vivian instead of with her. He began to talk about Vivian to others as supportive. As if she had cheered from the sidelines of a game he had played alone, she noticed. She said nothing yet. She had learned, over 11 years, that noticing quietly was its own form of power. Then came the woman from the marketing firm. Then came the late nights that didn't add up. Then came the lawyer's letter, delivered to the house Vivian had found, negotiated, and decorated. Grant wanted a divorce. And because Vivian had never been on the company's formal ownership documents, because she had trusted the handshake nobody wrote down, Grant's attorney made the firm's position very clear. She was, legally, just his wife. Entitled to marital assets, yes. But the company was his. Grant expected her to fall apart. She did not. She went home to the house that was about to stop being hers, and she sat at the kitchen table, and she opened a folder she had kept for 11 years. Not a folder of grievances, a folder of records. Because Vivian, the woman who read every contract, had never once stopped reading. And there are things a careful person knows that a confident person never thinks to check. Here is what Grant had forgotten. In year 4, when the firm nearly collapsed and no bank would touch them, it was Vivian's personal inheritance, $90,000 from her late father, that kept the company alive. They had been too rushed, too panicked to paper it as anything formal, but Vivian had papered it, quietly. A promissory note, signed by Grant, in a moment when he would have signed anything. A loan from her to the company, with interest, never repaid. She had filed it the way she filed everything, carefully, and forgotten by everyone but her. That was the first thread. The second was the lenders. The firm's biggest credit line, the one the entire business ran on, had a personal guarantee attached. The bank had required one years ago. Grant had been traveling. Vivian had signed it, her name, her guarantee, her risk carried silently for 7 years. Which meant the relationship the whole company depended on was, legally and personally, hers. The third thread was the quietest and the most devastating. 3 of the firm's 4 largest clients had come to the firm because of Vivian, not Grant. They had said so over the years, in emails Vivian had simply never deleted. Dinners she had arranged, trust she had personally built. She picked up the phone and called them, not to threaten, just to talk. She told them honestly that she was leaving the firm. She did not ask them to follow her. She did not have to. She simply let them know where she was going next, because Vivian was not falling apart. Vivian was starting her own firm. She had the relationships. She had the expertise that had always been hers. And now, with the divorce forcing everything into the open, she had something else. The documentation that proved the engine had never been the man whose name was on the door. She did not fight Grant for his company. That was the part his lawyers never understood. They had braced for a war over ownership. Vivian never filed for a share of the firm. Instead, she called in the promissory note $90,000 plus 7 years of interest, legally owed, fully documented. She formally removed herself from the personal guarantee, which sent the firm's lender into a sudden, panicked review of a credit line that had just lost the only signature that ever reassured them. And she let 3 of the 4 biggest clients know she was open for business. She didn't take his company. She just took back everything that had always been hers and left him holding a building with her name quietly embedded in its foundation, now pulling free. Within a year, Grant's firm had lost its largest credit line, 3 major clients, and the quiet competence that had been holding the whole structure upright. Within 2 years, it folded. Vivian's firm by then was thriving, built on the same relationships, the same judgment, the same careful reading of every contract, except now her name was on the door, where it should have been the entire time. Grant called her once near the end. He asked how she had done it, how she had dismantled 11 years of his work so quietly that he never saw it coming. Vivian thought about that question for a moment. Then she told him the truth. "I didn't dismantle anything, Grant. I just stopped holding it up. You never noticed I was holding it up. That was always the problem." She wished him well. She meant it more or less, and she hung up. She does not describe what she did as revenge. She describes it as an accounting. A long overdue reconciliation of a ledger that had been wrong for 11 years, where one person did the building and another took the name. The thing about being the silent partner is that everyone forgets you're a partner at all. They remember only the silence. Vivian simply reminded them at the precise moment of her choosing that silence had never meant absence. It had meant she was paying attention. She still reads every contract, every line. She always will. But now, at the bottom of everyone, there is a signature that means something. Hers. That is the whole story. No screaming, no public exposure, no dramatic reveal in a boardroom. Just a woman who had quietly built everything, allowed herself to be erased on paper, and then calmly proved that paper was the one thing she understood better than anyone. The best revenge was not taking what he had. It was demonstrating that he had never really had it, that the thing he thought he owned had only ever been on loan from the person he discarded. If this story found you at the right moment, you know what to do. Subscribe. Leave your story in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, stay patient, stay sharp, stay quiet.